Rhythm number 20 is a down-tempo greasy jam. That's why it's called Greazy. Here we go. Greazy is a 12-bar blues in E, and it's meant to be loose. It's meant to be not perfect. There's a lot of imperfections that you want to let go. That's what gives it that very greasy type of feel. What's going to happen is you are going to use this for your one chord. Your E7 is going to be just a little triangle-shaped 7/05. For your four chord, you are going to use an A13. You'll hit the bass note, but basically focus on the top four strings and get this A7 and A13 voicing. And you're going to raise that. We're actually going to go down a half step and come up a half step and kind of toggle between that. But overall, it's the four chord section. And then for the five chord, you'll be using all different stuff. We'll talk about that when we get there. The one chord has this basic riff idea. Kind of the same thing as butter. Once it's established, it keeps coming back. So you start out with this. So I'm hitting the chord and then just grabbing whatever I can get on the top, just letting it hang out. In between is a lot of scratches, but they're subtle. It's something that doesn't come jumping out. So you got to watch your dynamics. Let the chords jump, let the scratches be, lower. So that's the first descending bass idea, or bass riff idea. Going back to that concept I talked about earlier, chord against riff. So I'm just walking down a minor blues line. And before I release it at E, I'm pulling that G, give it a little quarter step inflection. I'm going to answer that with the same thing and probably a little bit more anger on the top three strings or top two strings. And I'm going to walk down with another descending low riff idea, except this time, after I make the chromatic descent from flat 5 to 4, I'm going to come over here, change my positioning, and grab the sixth tone, 6th degree, with my second finger on the 5th string of the 4th fret, and then snap it a tritone below back to the flat 3. And a little bit of accent on the 6th. And I'm going to pull that G and hold it every time. I'm holding it until the next inflection. So no scratches. Let that ring. That's relieving the tension of all this rhythm that's coming at you. So that's the one chord vibe, and that's going to happen 3 times. So that gets through the first four bars. And in that holding of the G, the second time we do it, goes into the 4 chord. Now what's happening there is once I hit that root, I jump up to the 7, add 13, take it down a half step, up a half step. So I'm just using these half step movements to create some tension on the 4 chord instead of going to, like a sharp 4 diminished 7 type of vibe. This is a different thing. That gets me back into the 1 chord, same vibe as we just checked out. Jumping into the turnaround where the 5 chord comes in, we have several versions of B dominant. We're going to start it off with that minor 7 flat 5 superimposition we first saw back in Cherry Kool-Aid. This time it's a D sharp. That's giving us a dominant 9 sound, first inversion for B. So I'm going to hit the chord, and then I'm going to thumb fret the bass note, or the root. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep coming back to that. So I start the idea off with that. That same vibe I had in the 4 chord where I'm doing half step tension and release, I'm doing that here. Carry that half step tension idea down here to C9 to B9, come back up. And then this time, I'm grabbing out to B7 sharp 9, but I'm getting that vibe I've been doing in the 1 chord where I get that answer with the open strings and just create ugliness. That's our 5 chord action that comes to the 1 chord, and we start to do the original theme, but it stops there because we're going to do a 1 6 2 5. So down to the 6 chord, and same use of the open strings just to create some ugliness. Same flat 7 to 1 riff idea to answer the chord. And then we come into the 2 chord, which is an F sharp 7, and just a big fat old bar chord. We're going to chuck that like that, staccato those 8th notes, 16th, sorry. And we're going to snap that downbeat to 16th. If you remember back in Huggy Bear, we first saw this. And we're going to snap that into a B7 sharp 9. It's one of the first times we're actually using a 7 sharp 9 in a way that it usually is used. Right here at the climax of a turnaround. But we're going to answer that with the answer to the low riff ideas that we first established in the 1 chord stuff. And remember, pull that G, and then this time it's going to go into the chord actually. And that's how you make your way through Greazy. There's no exact science to what open strings are being used when you're answering the chords. Don't be afraid to even let some fly by. This is not an avoidance of unwanted string noise and open strings. We want that in here. We want to make it as gritty as possible. So it's a slow down tempo thing. That's where the funk is at. Is this vibe. It's a lot of fun to play. Dig in and just let it all hang out.